just 2 weeks behind Knox Johnson, he continued eastwards for another lap of the Southern Ocean to save my soul, as he put it. This is the real solo race, sailing like it's 1968.
Forcément, tous les gens qui reviendront de la Golden Globe Race, forcément, il faut s'attendre à ce qu'ils aient changé.
It's a great story and it's the 50th anniversary, and it's a great opportunity to relive the original solo sailing when technology wasn't available, where we're just using sextants and wind-up clocks to find your position. And it's really the story of humanity and human endeavour in the extreme. So the world has never seen anything like this event.
Well, good day, everybody. Here we go again, and sorry we're a bit late. I have to fess up here. We were going live, and Graham and I were talking. Everything's looking beautiful, and Jane just said, "Hey, you're not up. Where are you?" And we were actually posting the live on the GGR Entrance page, so that's why we're a little bit late. Anyway, we're here now. Not a lot to update you on the GGR for this last week. Things are happening, but it's all simple stuff. And but we look back to 2 years ago. We were sailing through Lanzarote, and that was a lot of fun. We've been reminiscing on a bit of that. Anyway, I'm going to go straight to it now and bring up, if I can find him here. There he is. Bring up a gentleman that is lacking a bit of sleep right now. Here he is, Graham Dalton. How are you?
How are you, Mr.? You're not too bad. It's about 12 in the morning here.
Yeah, sorry to keep you up. I know you're missing your beauty sleep. It shows,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, you can't have looked in the mirror, lately either, Don.
I know. And this is take two.
Yeah.
What happened, I just got to explain to Graham, we actually were going live on the GGR Entrance page, which is a secret page. So that's why we weren't showing. But anyway, we're here now. So you're in Auckland, I'm in Hobart. And what's happening there? Like, what are you up to at the moment?
Not up to a lot, really. I mean, you can get out of the country, but you might not be able to get back in again. A lot of people are trying to get in from various parts of the world. They're being unloaded off planes because all our quarantine facilities are full, and I mean, there's quotas on how many can come into the country. So you've got a 2-week quarantine when you come back in, probably the same as Australia. So really, you leave the country at your peril.
Okay, enough of that. It's all the news everywhere anyway. So we'll go right back to the beginning. Tell me about your quite epic sailing family and what got you into sailing.
Yeah, well, I kind of guess, Don, the first thing I remember, I was about 3, and I must have been playing up, and my mother gave me a book, and it was kind of long book and quite thin, and it had a cardboard cover, and she gave it to me, and it was full of lines drawings of boats jibing and going about on different techniques, and she said, "Read this, one day you'll be a sailor." And that's really the first book I remember, and I was about that age when I was introduced. And I mean, the family had been on the waterfront and in the water for generations. So I mean, it was just natural that Grant and I finished up on the water.
Yeah. What was your first boat?
A P class. So they're about.
What's the P class? People won't know what that is on the other side of the world.
Yeah, they're 7 foot long.
That's big.
With a snub nose.
Yeah.
And if you can sail one of those in a blow, you can sail anything.
Okay.
And then kind of it went through small boats. Left school, was kind of meant to. I was about 17 or 18. Was going to night school, and I was an office boy at the time. Meant to be doing accountancy. I lasted about 6 months and ran off to sea and was sailing. You're sailing around the Pacific at 17 or 18, and then came back from there and served my time as a sailmaker.
And what loft were you with?
Your hoods.
Hoods.
Brigade.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how long did you do that for?
Till I finished my time, and then I moved on.
Yeah.
But I had always wanted to sail around the world solo, and I really made that decision when I was, well, I guess it was 1967 when Chichester sailed around.
Oh yeah.
And it was huge news in New Zealand. It was massive, and of course I was. I mean, at school, all the boys, that's what they were going to do.
Yeah.
But I mean, I knew they wouldn't, but I knew that I would. And we had a teacher at the time, and it's funny the things you remember. And he said to us one day, he said, the dreams you'll have as boys will be the strongest dreams of your lives. Never let them fade. And he was absolutely right.
Yeah. It starts way back there. So just to put people in the picture, I've just put a picture up, and there's two famous people in this photo. One of them is your brother, and the other one's Barry Pictou.
Barry, yeah.
So for those that haven't really twigged to it yet, Graham's brother is Grant Dalton, the winner of the America's Cup, Emirates New Zealand, that whole thing. So he's right in the thick of it, and apparently wouldn't take you on as a helmsman for the America's Cup because you're a little bit old-fashioned or something. I'm not sure of the story, something like that.
I mean, I think it's a lot more than that, Don. But thanks for being nice. I mean, that's a first for you.
That's cool. Yeah. So there's you and your brother. What about other kids in the family? And they're sailing too?
No,
just the two of you.
Yeah.
And so he started off with a similar sort of background and all that sort of stuff, and you got sail making, and he, got into whitbreads and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, basically, cool. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. And so let me get rid of that one now. And so this is the first time I heard of you. With the, I'd sort of known about your brother and known about the name Dalton, and then I'm pretty sure it was when you did the Velux race that was the first time I realised you were into that sort of solo sailing deal. Would that be right? Have you done other events before?
Yeah, I'd done the 86 solo New Plymouth Mooloolaba race.
Yeah, okay.
But I mean, when you're getting into those size boats in the Open 60, I mean, that's my Open 50 that I funded myself in the main. You need some serious money behind you.
Yeah. So did you tell me the story of this boat? So this was the Velux, which year?
That one there was 207.
207. Okay.
Yeah.
And you built that boat, or what's the story?
Yeah. I built the boat. It was quite difficult because while I was building the boat, I was actually in Melbourne. One of my twin boys, he was undergoing stem cell therapy because he had cancer. And he said, Dad, if I die, I don't want you to mope around. You have to go back on the water. And shortly before that race started, and I left New Zealand, my son died. So, and then, about three or four years ago, my elder daughter didn't get over his death, and she committed suicide. So I've buried two of my children now. So that's and that would be one of perhaps my greatest regret is they won't be on the dock for me.
Yeah. So your son passed away, and then you had to sail the boat to the start.
No. Shipped the boat to Savannah. Yeah. Savannah, Georgia.
Yeah.
And then sailed it across the Atlantic to Spain.
And I know you had problems. Give me a quick 1 minute on the race, on the Velux race in this boat.
Cool. Went in the water too late. We had design issues with it. With the rudders mainly. one of them snapped off the boat off at Brazil, but there were other issues with the boat. Having said that, I was the only 50-footer in the fleet, and we were looking good for a third placing overall, but then the rudder snapped off and it was all over. Having said that, I still continued on and completed the course.
Yeah, there's an epic in, is it Robin's book of that race? Was quite epic, eh? Because I was following that one, and you had lots of issues. But you got there at the end. It was amazing.
Yeah, well,
okay.
I coined the phrase because there was. It was just a nightmare with the things that were happening onshore and at sea too. That it would snow on the equator before I gave up, and that's how I felt, and that's really the mindset that I have going into these.
Okay, so it's hard to show this picture properly, but this is HSBC. Tell us about this boat and the event, and it still didn't snow on the equator, eh?
No, well, that one, it was that boat again in the water.
Tell us about the boat and the event first. The boat and the event that you're entering.
Yeah, that was 2002-3. And sailing across from the UK to Newport, Rhode Island, the mast came out of the boat. I just don't think it was engineered properly because I also lost the mast.
Yeah, you broke the mast. You didn't take it out in Newport. It actually snapped on the way.
It snapped off Brest the first time, and the second time I lost the rig just slightly north of the Falklands, but about 1,000 miles from the Horn, I actually got rolled, and it was a canting keel boat. My ballast tanks were full. I had full cant on the keel, and I just got a wave, and it just put me straight upside down. I don't know whether you can see this, Don, but this is one of the wheels. It had two wheels. This is titanium, and I got rolled, and I came home with the wheel.
Yeah. So you've told me that story actually.
Yeah.
But that was a pretty epic boat. Like that was out for the time. At the time, it was I wouldn't call it a breakthrough boat, but I remember it was pretty wild. Huge budget and all that sort of stuff. What's the story there?
Yeah, well, it was interesting. I had decided that I really had to do. I had to do the race, and I had to find the money. And if you go looking for money, you'll get turned down 10,000 times. And I'd called HSBC in New Zealand, and I was broke. I couldn't even feed myself. And I asked to see the CEO in New Zealand, and the comms manager said, "Well, you can't." And I said, "Well, we can do this the nice way or the horrible way." And she said, "What's the nice way?" And I said, you give me a meeting." She said, "I'm not going to. What's the horrible way?" And I said, "I'm going to call you every 3 days until you give me a meeting." And I called her probably every 3 days for about 2 months. And she got so pissed off with me in the end that she gave me a meeting. I had a pretty good proposal, and it was around a kid's education. To cut a long story short, we got invited to the boardroom in London, and I had two guys helping me.
Did you have to ring ahead to that appointment, or that was straight through?
Oh no! That kind of took a few months.
Yeah.
And then we got invited to London. I had 2 guys helping me, and they would only go business class, and I had to pay for it. And if you haven't got, if you can't feed yourself, how could you get the people to London? So I kind of sat at home in my office and counted the flies on the ceiling and thought, I know what to do. And I called up. It took me probably 5 or 6 calls, and I got through to the Deputy Prime Minister of New Zealand. And I said, "My name's Graham Dalton, and I've been invited to London, and I think they just want to see the whites of my eyes, to give me all this money." And he said, "Well, why have you called me?" I said, "I think the government should give me some money to go." He said, well, I think you're right. And so
you're speaking terms with Jacinta or what?
No. I mean, she was in nappies then, I think.
Okay.
But so he said, well, the money will come from this fund. You'll know that the minister can't tell the ministry what to do, but you'll also know the minister generally gets what the minister wants. So I had to show that it would give a return to New Zealand, and they gave me the money. Off I went to London, and the rest is history. And that returned back to them probably thousands of times their investment. Yeah.
It's a Kiwi trait. Kiwis are very progressive. They're up for anything, like especially sailing. That's another story. So the boat. Put just 1 minute on the boat, the build and start of the race.
Yeah, the build. I mean, it was
the budget. It was a huge budget, wasn't it? Like it was big money.
I'm not going to tell you what it was, but it's the only fully funded IMOCA 60 campaign to come out of Australia or New Zealand.
Yeah.
The boat was good. I mean, you need time in those boats. I didn't have time, but I thought that I could circumvent a lot of that by being very well organised on shore. I got a few things wrong. One of them was the electronics. We went for a French company, and the manual.
Be careful. The race starts in La Sable d'Olonne.
The manual in French was about that thick, and in English it was about that thick, and we had massive problems with the electronics. And I mean, on those boats with your pilots and everything else, that's the nerve center of the boat. So yeah, I mean, I was up to about third. Got rolled before the horn, had a smash boom, got into the Beagle Channel, got my shore team over, we fixed the boom, off again, and then just north of the Falklands, the autopilot let go and some breeze, the boat crashed, jibed, and the mast just fell out of the boat.
Again.
Yeah. So I mean, every time you with the deck step masts, when they go, you've got nothing left. You lose absolutely everything. I kind of floated around for best part of a couple of weeks. The Argentinians said, we'll come and rescue you. And I said, well, I don't want to be rescued. I want a tow. And they said, well, we're not coming. So I said, well, I'm not getting off the boat. So I floated around for a couple of weeks till I became such an embarrassment, I think, that it was paid for, that they sent out the Argentinian Coast Guard, and I got towed into Porto Madryn.
Okay. So did you get? It still hadn't snowed at the equator. So did you do something and finish?
Well, I was out of money by then, and because you lose your rig and your sails without any other damage, you're probably up. I mean, in those days, New Zealand American dollars, you're probably up for about 500K.
Oh, that's pretty
cool.
And
I'd lost two.
Yeah. Okay, so that's enough of that stuff. We'll get rid of those big boat things, and get back to little boats. What on earth made you decide on doing the GGR?
I got no idea, because I'd retired, and
Okay.
I didn't even know the race was on until the boats got probably underneath South Africa.
Yeah.
And I kind of saw that, and I started watching it, and I got a bit more interested, and I found the old fire starting to burn again, because to do these races, you've got to have a fire in you. If you haven't got the fire, they're just too hard, because you're going to have all sorts of things thrown at you on land and at sea. And then I contacted you and I said, I'm going to need 3 days in a row that I want to do the race. And I'd get one day, yes, I'm going to do it. Then for the next 4 or 5 days, no, I don't want to put myself through that again. And then I got up to 2 days, and then I'd be 3 or 4 days I didn't want to do it. And I got to 3 days, and I thought, right, that's it. Put your entry in, and
do it. Yeah.
that's how it started.
Okay, look, we got to do the traditional stuff now. We've got the word association. You got some good stories there, so I want to keep it going. But anyway, it's very important. You give me the first thing that comes into your head with word association, right? So first one is first one, gumboots.
Paddocks.
Sheep.
I'm not going to bite on that one, McIntyre.
Come on. Sheep.
You're helping one through the fence.
Okay, next one is gumboots. Okay, that's enough of that. We got too many stories still yet to come. Oh, too many stories still yet to come. I just lost my lights here. And we'll go straight to the questions. Now, the questions are important. So pick a number 1 to 10.
6.
6. How would you like to make a living? Selling pots and pans?
Yeah. The most profitable way.
Okay, all right. So 10 to 20.
14.
What have you always wanted to try?
What I've always wanted to try, I've always tried everything I wanted to.
Okay, that's cool. All right, 20 to 30.
27.
27. Should we take life seriously?
Sometimes.
Okay, 30 to 40.
31.
31. Do you follow politics and why?
I do because it impacts on my life.
Yeah, true. Okay, 40 to 47.
46.
Are you a leader or a follower?
I've got no idea. You would need to ask someone else that.
Okay, I could pass a comment, but I won't because you're a Kiwi. I don't want to start another political bash. All right, so now a letter. You know the alphabet? You got the alphabet, okay?
Well, try me.
Okay, A to N.
D.
D. Why are manhole covers round?
I've got absolutely no idea.
That'll do. Okay. All right. So you got off lightly, eh? Now, you sure you don't want to go back to the word association? Let's try it one more time. Sheep. Oh, I saw your eyelids go then. I saw them go when I mentioned that word.
Sheep.
Okay.
Yeah, pleasure, Don. Pleasure.
Yeah. Pleasure. Okay, sure.
Yeah.
I'll on that we've got Edward here. Edward's from Canada. I've got to find him here. I hope he's still there. We go. So I'm going to bring Edward online here, and Edward's on next week, but we're going to have a quick rundown. And g'day, Edward. How are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm not too bad. You know, Graham, we had a chat before we came to air. So sorry about leaving you sitting there so long. We had a false start. So where are you right now? What are you up to?
I'm right now in Halifax, Nova Scotia, Canada, 250 kilometers from the place where Joshua Slocum was born.
Cool. Yeah. Is he a big fan of yours, or obviously?
I hope so.
That's cool. So we're looking forward to chatting next week. Yeah. You know that now we don't want to get in depth with you and all the rest of it, but your claim to fame is that you've got, in fact, we didn't even tell people about Graham's boat, but you've both got Rustler 36s. So that's a double bloody Rustler situation. So what made you choose a Rustler, Edward?
Well, it is closest to the boats I'm used to sail on, and it was available. So I had to act quickly before pandemic situation. So I got the boat in end of February.
Yeah, I got to admit, you're one of the entrants. Like every now and then you get someone. I get this contact from you, so you want to get in the race. You enter straight away. You find a boat straight away. You have a plan instantly. It's like bang, bang, bang. And so I just put a picture up of Matmut. So Graham, you've got Matmut, right? You've got Jean-Luc's boat. You happy about that? Was that a plan or what?
Yes. Yeah, I mean, the boat's basically set to go. I mean, it needs a refit, but it doesn't need a right from the keel to the top of the mast.
Yeah.
I mean, it's more servicing than a rebuild. Yeah.
Okay. And Edward, tell us about your plans for your Rustler 36, and why.
Well, my boat is in Rustler Yachts right now, and it's undergoing the deck and the whole refit, and hope to have it ready by end of September and sail to Les Sables d'Olonne. And I have a new mast already waiting there, stored, and have 14 sails ready by Voilier Tarot by Jerome, and I have Lionel who agreed to help me to step the mast and prepare the sails handling on the deck.
Yeah. But here's the catch-22. You didn't mention the key. You've got a short mast exactly the same as Jean-Luc, and you've got exactly the same sails as Jean-Luc from the same sailmaker. So that's going to make life interesting.
Yes, it took me one day to look through videos and find out a logo of Voilier Tarot, and then I called them and I said, I need the sails. And since then, they are like, Jerome is a Superman in Les Sables for me because he's helping with everything. So
yeah, cool. So okay, usually when we get to this point, I say to I'll get rid of Matma. Graham, why are you going to beat Edward in the GGR? Because your boats are the same, similar, I should say.
Similar, yeah. Well, they're all rustlers, so they are similar. But as I said to you last week, Don, I don't line myself up against any of the entrants because they all have my respect, and there's not a lot of difference in the speed of the boats. I don't think the fastest boat will necessarily win, although boat speed's a hell of an advantage. So, I mean, I'll just focus on me, and, the other guys can do what they want to do. But I mean, the one thing I have seen, Don, that I'm a little surprised at, I mean, if you told me that I could get 2/10 of a knot and I had to sleep on the floor for 8 months, that's what I'd do. But, I mean, I've seen, and it's only my view, I see a lot of the entrants spending a lot of time and a lot of money to make their boats go slower.
Careful, they're all watching,
Yeah, well, you want to go faster, not slower.
Okay, so Edward, what's your impression on where do you slot in the scheme of things? Like I'm going to ask you a lot of questions next week because I know you're a very experienced sailor. It's going to be very interesting. But you're obviously out for a win. So what makes you think you're going to get in front of Graham?
Well, first of all, I would like to finish the race, and it is a lot of quite 2 years to the start line, right? So we'll start thinking about racing in 2 years' time. So
yeah, I agree. The Kiwis that don't sail their boat for a year because they just like staying at home and hanging out on the farm with sheep. You got a lot more advantage. You'll be sailing a lot, Edward? That's good way to go.
Yeah.
Hey, the one thing I was going to do, Don, if after those sheep jokes, if I have to take a drogue, I think I'll take you. And when it's blowing, I'm going to tie your feet together, put another line around your neck, throw you over the side, and you haven't been for run, you haven't been doing any exercise, and you're getting quite large. So you're going to slow the boat down, but when the storm's over, I've only got small winches, so I won't be able to winch you back in. I'm just going to cut the lines and leave you.
Okay. But if we did that, we won't. Oh well, anyway, we won't go there. We'll keep that discussion for later. But it sounds like a plan anyway. I like where you're coming from.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so all right, Edward. So that's all cool. And so, Edward, for you, thanks for coming on today. It's good to just give people a bit of a hint who you are and what you got going on. But I really am impressed with your preparation and stuff. So we'll have a few good things to talk about next week. So I'll let you get back to work because you're at work now at your desk, eh?
Yes, I am.
I hope all your employees or whatever are watching, but we'll talk about that next week. And thanks for coming up today anyway.
Okay, thank you. See you.
Okay, thanks, Edward. I'll just pull you out there and see you next week, eh? Bye-bye.
Bye.
Say goodbye, Graham. It's a polite thing to do.
You're nice to see you, Edward.
Nice to see you.
Okay. Thanks, Edward. See you later.
See you. Bye.
Yep. Okay. So that'll be cool. That'll be fun. Yeah, he's an interesting guy too. All the entrants are. There's a lot of good backstories with everyone. So okay. So you decided that you couldn't do without it. And you wanted to do it. What's the most exciting or fun part for you for doing the GGR? You know, not getting to the start line. Forget that. You're underway. You're in the GGR. What's going to be the fun part? You know,
The thing you remember, well, the thing that I remember from the two races that I've done, you don't really remember the sailing that much. I mean, you remember a few of the things, but that fades. But what you do remember is the people. And I think the people are the most important part.
Yeah, I agree. You know, amazing family, amazing feeling. It's completely different than all the guys, you know, big money races and win at all costs. But I know you're completely committed to do your best and win on this one. And it's interesting the contrast. I think you're in what I call group number one. You want to be up there, so that's cool. Okay, so that's what's your biggest challenge in the race? Not getting the start line in the race. What's going to be the biggest challenge for you?
Oh, getting up to speed. I mean, you different conditions. I mean, it can be blowing 20 knots, and it can be just as hard than if it's blowing 50, because you want to know the limits of the boat with certain sea conditions and certain wind strengths. And then you want to push to the line. Now, you push over the line, you're going to crash and burn, but you don't push up to the line and you're going to get kicked out the back of the fleet. So it's knowing where that line is, and you can't sail right on it, but you probably want to sail at 90 or 95%. And I haven't sailed these sort of boats before. I think your governing factor will be the wind vane. But really, I mean, down the Southern Ocean, I mean, people talk about big waves, and there are big waves down there, but most of the time the sea is very confused and it's coming at you from two or three directions, because the fronts go through so very, very quickly that the sea never gets time, to settle. I saw one storm in the last race off just north and east of Kerguelen. And quite frankly, on these boats, I don't know how I'd sail on it. I mean, the waves, they're probably 60 feet. The top 20 feet were breaking, and if you'd run straight off, you're going to pitch pole. In the open boats, in the 60 or the 50, I mean, it's just like big surfboards, and you go fast and you take them like a surfer. But with these boats, I think if you try that and you round it up and came beam on, you're going to go over. So
you're a good person to ask on this one, because you've lost a few. You know the rig on Jean-Luc's boat, your boat now.
Yeah.
You're happy to what are you going to do to make sure you keep it up?
Well, you're just going to do your best. I mean, you get down there, and if I can get rolled in the 60, I can get rolled in one of these. I mean, I don't know, but I would think you've probably got 70% chance of being rolled. Say you get 20 boats down into the Southern Ocean. I mean, if you get 20 boats down into the Southern Ocean, my experience tells me you're going to have some horror stories.
Yeah.
But probably not the place to talk about it here, but
it's a numbers game for sure. But anyway, a couple of questions. Ted Ryman's here from Cape Town. G'day, Ted. Gurav, one of your fellow competitors, watch him. He's a hot sailor, he wants to know, what's the most important advice to anyone doing a first circumnavigation in the GGR? What would you say to him? Because this will be his first circumnavigation.
I would say you break down the race and the boat into its component parts, and then I think you have to prepare the boat properly. I think you go through all your systems. What if this breaks? What do I do? You've got to prepare yourself, and there are many facets to that. I think you've got to have a race course management plan, because it's very, very different in various parts of the ocean. So I would break everything down into its component parts under headings, and then you might have subheadings under your headings, and try and be the best that I could be in those various categories.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds cool. Michelle Lee's here. She's an Atlantic rower. G'day, Michelle. I want to know how many entrants there are at the moment. There's 26, and we've got people all around the edges, so we're pretty confident we'll have 30 people in the start group. That's pretty much that one. Okay, so what's your biggest fear for the race?
Failure.
But how do you define failure? What would be failure for you?
Failure would be not living up to my expectations. Now, there are
which is?
Oh, I'm not going to talk about them to you, McIntyre. But you might go out there to do well, and you might lose your rig. So your goal of finishing, at the very least, is gone. That's not to say the challenge is gone. You just have to very quickly refocus, because you're probably going to be in the middle of the ocean, and you have to get ashore. And many of the best stories come from people further down the fleet, because they've been out there a hell of a lot longer. They've been beaten up more, and they've generally had more problems. So, all because someone's down the fleet, they may have done a fantastic job. I mean, I look at Isvan with his steering, and I think he would have, if that hadn't happened, he would have been a clear third, and he struggled with that the whole way round, and his self-steering. I mean, he was fourth, but that was a great effort. I mean, I think it's quite interesting, not that you have to, but of the 5 people that finished, all of them had sailed around the world before.
Yeah, there was a lot to be said for that. I tend to agree, especially I remember Istvan at the beginning. I couldn't believe it. He was like nearly last in the whole fleet. He's there at the end of the day, and he's right into it. It's interesting, because I'm looking at Pippa here, in the Vendée Globe. She's got an older Imoca 60. She's doing the race. I really like what she's doing. She's coming from the bottom end, and I'm hoping that boat, and I'm sure it will, touch wood, I'm hoping she gets to the finish. When she does, it'll be interesting to see where she is against a lot of the high-tech stuff as well, because there's different attitudes on everything, and it creates issues in a race like this. So when I say there's 3 groups, we've got the guys who want to win it, there's the ones in the middle that just want to finish and do the best they can, and there's others that are just going around. Some of those that are just going around could end up on the podium.
Absolutely. But I mean, if you can go out there and race, and you can be there, you can be home a month or 2 before someone else. Well, that seems to make sense to me, because if you're out there for another month or 2, you're going to get smacked a lot more, and that's where things can go wrong. But you can't foretell what's going to happen. There are so many component parts. There might be a bad swage done on the rigging, and the mast falls out. Well, I mean, you can't do anything about that. It's just one of those things.
Yeah, too true.
You might be in the wrong place, and a wave comes over on your beam, and you're running like it does in the Southern Ocean, and just takes you out. You can't do anything about those things.
Yeah, too true. So what's your secret weapon? What's going to be your secret weapon? How are you going to relax on board during the race? Get your mind out of it to sort of wind down a bit.
Oh, I think you've just got to get into a rhythm, and that can be quite relaxing, that takes me probably 4 or 5 days.
I hear so many funny stories about guys that have been there, done that, about their sleep patterns. But usually, what's your sleep pattern going to be? Do you just let it evolve, or you have a routine?
No, well, I brought the top sleep guy in the world to New Zealand in about 2002, Dr. Claudio Stampi, and he trained me in sleep. And I had a little thing, was like my watch, it was a little computer, and it measured how long I was asleep on land, and how long I was asleep at sea. With all the research that had been done with the solo sailors at that time, we knew that to be competitive, you could sleep between 4 and 6 hours a day. If you went below 4 hours for any length of time, you got into sleep deprivation. For me, it was an hour and a half between 8 o'clock and midnight, another hour and a half between 2 and 6 in the morning, and the rest made up of 15-minute naps. Or cluster napping, where you put your head down, you don't go totally out, and you put your head up, check the instruments, which we don't have any, and so forth. Having said that, the boat sets your rhythm. And it's interesting that the boat is got a female genre, because you're running around like doing everything she asks of you, and it would be the closest I've ever been to being pussy whipped.
Yeah, but a lot of that doesn't relate to you, because I know you can sleep really well. You just, as long as you put your gum boots down beside your bunk and you're sleeping on sheepskin. I hear you sleeping on sheepskin. You just sleep like a baby. I know. Yeah. All right. So, and when was the last time you played with a sextant?
A while ago. Oh no, last year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Last year.
Yeah. That was when you were sailing that one.
No, that's when I was taking a course here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So tell me about the name and that. Is that 2 sheep on your T-shirt there? What's the story there? What's the name of your boat?
The name of the boat is the Southern Man. I'll see if I can show you here. Tell me if it shows up. Can you see that?
No, you got to go higher. Now go over by the camera. Now twist it around a bit. Twist it around. Get it right way up. Go left. That's it. Hold it. Whoa, down a bit. Close to the camera. Okay, tell me the story.
Well, I had this made because, really...
Now put it back. Put it back. You can talk. We want to look at it while you're talking about it.
Yeah, I designed this because, the boat I really see as a joint New Zealand French entry, because I'm on base there. So it's got a French and Maori there, and I'm in a Maori. It says Kia kaha, which is stay strong, and in French it's fort ensemble, I think off the top of my head, which means stronger together, which kind of where we are at the moment, I think is quite applicable.
All right. Yeah. Okay. Well, I can see you're starting to blink a bit at the moment. Is that I think you.
No, I tell you what.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you what. That's my mascot.
Oh, a bit that way. That's it. Oh, jeepers. Yeah. Okay.
And hey, if you follow rugby, listen to what he does.
Okay, well, I just put a call out to all the. We'll have thousands of people who see this. I want everyone to bring a sheep. I want a fluffy little sheep But when you come to Lassab along the way, goodbye to Graham. I want you to bring a fluffy little sheep, okay? So he gets doesn't get homesick while he's away. You know.
Hey, did you go for your run this morning, McIntyre?
No, of course not. I was too busy. I'm learning my French.
Yeah,
Oh, boy,
well-
I should say that I haven't learned any more French yet. It's getting bad, eh? Anyway, I will by then.
Oh.
All right, before we go, just a quick word association. Sheep.
Don McIntyre.
Sweet dreams, brother. Okay. All right. Good to talk, Graham, and we'll do it again in about 6 months. We'll do a rotation, so we'll see what you're doing when we go through everyone. There's 26 entrants. It'll take a while. So good luck there, and we will be speaking soon, I'm sure.
I'm sure. Okay, thanks for that, Don.
Okay. See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Okay. So there's Graham. Very secretive at the beginning. He was a confidential entry for a long time, and happy to have him on board now and out in the open. So that's it for now. We'll see you again next week, and we'll be talking to Edward. Quite some good stories there. And he's a tough sailor as well. He's been around, done that. I can assure you, and knows exactly what he's doing with his boats. So that'll be a little class thing they got going. No one will be able to hide behind the short rig. So good fun to watch. See you later. Thanks.